He was a student to become a chiropractor. He started in the business roughly a decade ago. Okay. And when you hear from him, you're really going to, number one, appreciate that he's a well-spoken guy. This is somebody who had the opportunity to speak at a TED Talk, everyone. Okay, so you're in for a treat. But not only that, today he runs a team of over 160 licensed agents across Canada. He has helped many, many families across the kitchen table put together a financial plan by educating them on simple financial concepts. But also he has built a team of leaders who have become successful in this industry just like he has, right? So I want to give him a big, big round of applause. If you can help me welcome Victor Wong to the stage.
Good? All right, let's dive right into it. Well, what if I told you 5 years from now, your life will look exactly the same? Same income, same home, same car, same retirement, same everything. How many of you would be happy about that? No one, right? No one. Then you've come to the right place. 13 years ago, I was introduced to the company after by my father, and growing up, I'm Chinese. My dad said, my mom said, you have to study to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. Right? Anybody relate? So I decided to be a doctor. So I went to school to be a chiropractor, and then my dad, he said, Victor, you have to have an open mind. So I came to a meeting just like this, with an open mind, and it's completely changed my life. So a little bit about myself. My name is Victor Wong. I'm actually from Toronto. I was born at North Shore General. Anybody can relate? It feels good to be home. And there's one thing to cheer for about Toronto is your hockey team went to the playoffs and mine did not. So tonight and today, I'm very blessed and fortunate to be here with you as we share our expansion campaign. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been expanding across the U.S. and Canada. Last week, we're in Calgary and Edmonton. Tonight, we're in Toronto. And then tomorrow, we're actually going to be in Halifax. So I get the honor and privilege to cover who we are, what we do, why we're expanding, and the types of people that we're looking for. Sound good? Anybody excited? Yeah. You're not going to raise your hand no matter what I say? All right, let's dive into it. So, get the next slide, please. So they say the best way to predict your future is to create it. One thing I knew going to school to study to be a chiropractor, I had the privilege to shadow other chiropractors, to study other physios, and one thing I knew was I loved to be a chiropractor, but something was missing. I wanted more control of time. I wanted to have my own business. I knew I wanted to work more about financial literacy, but that wasn't there. Did you know that the #1 economic crisis in the world today, it's not inflation, it's not rising interest rates, it's not Donald Trump, it's the silent killer. And the silent killer that actually affects 4 billion people around the world, what that is financial literacy. You see, a lot of families, we learn how to work hard, make money. But let me ask you a question. When was the last time you learned how to manage your finances? Or how to save for retirement? Because growing up, even though I was born and raised in this country, I didn't know anything about money and finance. Anybody relate? I didn't learn it in school. I wasn't taught at the banks. I wasn't taught at the employer until I came to this company. And my dad, when he introduced me to the company, he said, Victor, we have a great part-time training program where you can keep the security of what you're doing, still go to school, still be a chiropractor, but learn more about money and finance. And I thought, part-time opportunity, part-time training program, that made sense. Then he said at the same time, there's an entrepreneurial roadmap where now you can learn how to be a business owner. And I thought, that sounded very interesting. Then he said, did you know the best person with your best interest is yourself? And I said, of course I knew that, Dad. And he said, this part-time training program is for you. I want you to have an open mind. So over the next 17 hours, I'm going to be talking about who we are, what we... You guys okay, 17 hours? No one said anything, so I just assume you guys are okay. Just kidding. We'll get you guys out in about an hour's time. Sound fair enough? Right? So over the next hour, I get the honor and privilege to talk about our company, the credibility, the market, and then my good friend, Mr. Aldrich de Sacramento, will talk about the system and why we're expanding and who we're looking for. Good? All right, let's dive right into it. So we did a survey or a study, and we looked at 100 people from age 25 to retirement, and what we found is 95% of Canadians are financially devastated by the time they're 65, and 5% are financially secure. And we broke it down some more. 54%, almost 1 in 2 Canadians, are dependent on the government, dependent on their parents, dependent on somebody else. Can you guys all relate? 36% are still working beyond 65. A couple of weeks ago, CIBC Bank, they said that you can no longer retire at 65. The new retirement age is 71. How many of you are excited about 71? How many of you want to work past 71? Have you noticed that there are a lot of seniors going back to the workforce, not because they want to, because they have to. Because they have. Our pension is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and we don't have enough savings. And 5%, unfortunately, are deceased. Then on the right-hand side, financially secure, 4% are financially okay, and 1% are wealthy. Now, I live in Vancouver now, and growing up, I've always wondered, how do people afford to buy those $4, $5, $6, $7, $8 million homes? You ever wonder? As I'm taking the bus, I wonder what kind of job they have. I've always wondered, how can you be wealthy? What kind of business do they have? So we dive in a little bit more, and what we found, next slide please, is the wealthy 1%. Anybody here want to be wealthy in your life? So we did a study, and we found out that 1% of the 1%, they won the lottery. They got a big inheritance. And I thought, man, to win the lottery, you have to get struck by lightning like 10 times to win the lottery. So that was not a good plan for me. And I died more. 5%, they're super salespeople. Luxury real estate, cars, and I thought, you know what, that's not for me either. 10% are CEOs or presidents of large corporations. A doctor or be an attorney, so that you have a shot at being wealthy. 10%. And then I looked into it further. How do people get wealthy in today's market? And 74% are entrepreneurs. They're in business for themselves. When I started in the business, my dad introduced to me a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Anybody read that book? And he said, he has 2 dads. The poor dad says, hey son, go to school, find a job, save money, and one day you'll retire. But the rich dad said exactly the same thing, but he said, go to school, get good grades, make money, save money, but now you need to learn how to start your own business, how to invest your money, how to have assets. But I thought, I'm born in this country, I went to a very good university.